Welcome back, everyone, to the Alienware Analyst Desk. I am joined here by Anatoly and Aurora, and we're here for the final matchup of today. It is Obey Alliance versus Elevate.
They had to get here by beating some international teams. Elevate taking out Black Dragons. We saw Obey take out Entity. It was pretty easy for both of them, but now with such diverse god pools, it's going to be interesting to see this best of 3.
I'm excited for this one. Like, we're going to see a lot of different picks coming out of both teams. I think they both brought a lot of different things to Worlds, and they want to show it here because if they get taken out now, they're out of the tournament.
That's right.
Aurora, I don't think you're the only one excited. I think we have the audience here excited as well. And if you guys can't be here, do not worry, because we have a lot of opportunities for you. You guys can watch this online, like at Mixer, where you have the opportunity to win a bunch of codes for cool skins.
Nice little cool skins, as well as there's going to be a lot of cool gods being played between these two. Looking at Dardez and Jermain from Elevate, those two can literally play anything.
We also, during yesterday, we got to see the hi-rez Expo keynote. Got to announce a lot of cool games, a lot of cool stuff, including one of their upcoming games called Bot Smashers.
It's a fun little app that you can play as well. Go to botsmashers.com to check that one out. It's really fun.
Have you ever played StarCraft 2, like the side games that they would have, the custom games? It reminds me of Nexus Wars, and I played that more than I actually played StarCraft 2. So
yeah,
I'm
they
really
definitely
excited
have
for
a lot of things going on for that game as well. I definitely got a chance to play test it as well. I used to actually room with Drybear as well, so he would show me the game every now and then, and that's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun, but the more fun that we're going to be having is watching Obey Alliance versus Elevate. I mean, it was the most intense match that we saw during Super Regionals, where Elevate took, I think it was 2 games, and then Obey went all the way back.
Yeah, it went the distance. It went to 5 games completely, and Obey Alliance, you know, they struggled a little bit. They finally found their footing there. They put Cherryo on a god that he wasn't very comfortable with, and then they found that.
And they also picked their signature pick, Hell, in that Game 5 that really carried them through that.
Yep.
Well, let's take a quick look at the roster for Obey Alliance.
Elevate. Jermain. Dardez. DeathPanter. Cherryo. No numbers.
Sorry about that. That was not Obey Alliance. That was Elevate right there. A fantastic team. One that is incredibly innovative in terms of builds and god choices.
Absolutely. Looking at that man on your screen, Cherryo, he has a very diverse god pool. His Kabrakan is one to be feared. His Athena, he really likes Guardians in that jungle position.
Yeah, I love Cherryo. I was just talking to him about the game. He's just really smart. He knows all his picks. The funny thing is about Cherryo is that he doesn't want to play in the jungle role. He really wants to be a mid laner, but there's not a lot of European junglers, so he feels like he needs to step into that jungle role to let his team succeed. So that's why he's playing the jungle role.
Well, he's very successful, especially when he comes to a LAN. He's just an absolute monster here because, you know, once he actually plays from home, playing from Egypt as well, he has high latency. He doesn't have the best computer, so his frames are on the lower end as well. So that's why every player fears that man on your screen.
And Elevate will be going up against Obey Alliance. Let's check out that roster.
Obey Alliance. Ataraxia. EmilZy. PrettyPriMe. CaptainTwig. Xaliea.
That is Obey Alliance, second place last year at HRX 2017. Is it going to be another second place, or is they finally going to get that first win?
It would be a true Cinderella story if they come back here, because honestly, 2 times between Ataraxia and PrettyPriMe, first-year Worlds, third-year Worlds, they need to find the win here.
Yeah, and the funny thing about this team is that they always are counted out, and they're never in like a contender section of the teams. Like, everybody's always like they're such a dark horse when they win. But I feel like this year they are a true contender, and they could really do some damage.
How can
in this
you say
bracket.
that they're a dark horse when they went second place at Ataraxia.
I know, that's what everybody says. It's crazy to me.
It was right before, I think, DreamHack in Sweden, when they were known as Hungry for More still, and then they made some roster switches, and then they really got some momentum under themselves. They found the synergy, and they've just been a different team ever since.
Well, I know I'm hungry for more games, everyone, and we are ready for picks and bans of game number 1. It's Obey Alliance versus Elevate.
I'm so excited to see this first pick and the first bans, honestly, here. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see a Nox ban away from Dardez.
I think we're going to see an Osiris ban. Both of these teams played Osiris in day number 1.
There's so many things these teams can play. I actually don't know what they're going to want to ban. I don't know if they're going to want to go for the AMCs and the Ryzens or the Ravens and the Osirises, but we see a Kabrakan ban coming out first.
I think that's the first Kabrakan ban we've seen.
It's a respect ban against Cherryo. He loves that Guardian.
And don't forget about No Numbers as well. It's a very good flex pick for both of these teams here.
That's very true. No Numbers has been known to kind of go off the wall, and Athena's another favorite for Cherryo.
Yeah, this is a classic ban against Cherryo. They love banning Athena.
So
there's the Hell ban!
No, come on! I just wanted it to get through once. Just once. Oh, but banning Hell, you get Uller. We finally get to see Uller.
The question is, where does this Uller go, though, for Obey Alliance? Is it going to go in mid? Is it going to go in dual lane? Or does Mr. Twiggy have something to say
It's going to go in dual lane. PrettyPrime's a mage player, and Twig's more of a supportive player. We're definitely going to see Ataraxia playing the Uller.
All right, we have a Sylvanas pick followed up by that Xing Chen, a very bursty, sustaining build right now for Elevate.
No surprise there, Xing Tan can be put into the solo lane, also into the support role, but they're going to put the Sylvanas as a support, and they're going to put the Xing Tan in the solo lane.
Nice idea to take the Sylvanas away from that little guy on your screen. Such a young player, EmilZy, and he loves Sylvanas. One of his go-tos is Discordia.
Wow.
Early pick for
yeah, we've always seen her be last picked when there's no one else that they can pick and they don't really have any mid laners that they can go to. They go for Discordia. Why prioritize her?
I think that they have a very specific strategy and opening that they want to kind of employ, especially in these jungle fights. That strife is so obnoxious to deal with.
Yeah.
And then also her passive is just so strong as well. We see the Osiris coming out. That could either be a flex pick for Twig or Xaliea. I have a feeling it could be a flex pick because yesterday, or 2 days ago, we saw Xaliea playing the Osiris, but now they might put it in Twig's hand. They might have been trying to get in the heads of everybody here.
Very important thing that you mentioned earlier was that Discordia passive. Whenever there's a Hunter versus Hunter, if the Uller gets that Discordia passive, all of a sudden Jermain is going to be having issues in that long lane.
See a Muzen Cobb over on the side of Elevate. That team right now with Sylvanas and Muzen Cobb, if Sylvanas can grab that pole, the route into the pole, into the AMC ult is devastating.
Yeah, and remember, we're going to see probably 2 Hunters coming out of Elevate, so I feel like Obey is going to ban away Hunter picks. We might see something really crazy come out of Elevate as well. Maybe they'll put a Warrior Assassin in mid lane. They might have something really interesting prepared.
An Ares ban, taking away some cripples to make sure that the Uller was still going to stay relevant.
Yeah, so I heard a lot of things this tournament. I heard the OCE team and some of the European teams were maybe practicing an Ares jungle, which would have been really exciting to see. So it seems like Obey did their research here on this
An
ban.
Ares jungle, that's very aggressive. You know, you look at Raven jungle sometimes, you think that's aggressive, but yeah, Ares jungle, that's one to take for the cake.
Well, we don't really talk about them too often, but the coach is very important, and we actually saw Hazer left Cyclone GG for Obey, and he is a very proactive coach and does his research like you were saying, Aurora.
Yeah, it's really cool to see Hazer, both his teams, Obey and Rival, both in the finals at Super Regionals, and now we might see them both in the finals here at HRX as well, which would be really good achievement for Hazer.
Looking for the last pick out of Elevate with that Odin ban. It leads me to believe that they're going to go for more gods, maybe without an escape, or at least without a jump necessarily. And I think Hachiman could be a prioritization for Elevate.
You know one god we haven't seen this tournament yet that Cherryo likes a lot is Naja.
We saw Naja last game.
Did we see her last game?
I think in the last set we saw Naja.
I don't think it was the last set. It might have been in 2 sets before. Yeah, okay.
I think
we haven't seen a
played,
lot of Naja. We didn't see her the past couple days, but today we did see her, you're correct. But we haven't seen a lot of it, and she's very potent in this meta, I feel like, as an assassin pick. Like, you could only play, like, Serket, Naja, And then also Fenrir right now.
Man, Emir and Helm banned in the same game. I
Both
feel
these
like they're
teams hate
insulting
you.
me.
Yeah, both these teams just hate you, Kelly. Your two favorite gods taken away off the table. But it makes sense, the Ares and the Ymir, because Elevate does a triple Guardian composition. Despite them having Xingqian and Sylvanas, they're not done yet with another Guardian.
What's that third Guardian? You think it's going to be a Ganesh? We've seen a lot of them. Maybe even a Sobek?
I think maybe Kumbhakarna here. Jungle.
They need a jungler. That's what they
Kumba
need.
jungle?
I don't think Kumba, but we can maybe see something like a Geb. I'm kind of expecting a Geb possibly.
And there he is. What a great prediction from Aurora.
Geb, very interesting pick here. So who is jungling? Is it Geb or
Definitely Geb, 100%. Yeah, I guarantee you it's Geb jungle. It's
So that Blink Cataclysm, the Blink knockup.
And support. Yeah, the Blink Cataclysm plus the Jing 1060. They have so many ways to pop beads. It also steps with ANC Stinger very well. They just have a lot of synergy between these gods.
Definitely. Synergy is the name of the game right now, and I'm excited to see how Elevate finishes up this comp. But before they do that, Obey is going to be picking their next god.
And going back to Elevate really quick, one thing they love to do is rotate their tanks in and out of team fights like a figure eight kind of. They have one tank in, it's like one fighter in, fight, and then the other one comes out, the other fighter goes in, fight, and they do it again, and after 3 tanks going in and out,
Could you
it's
imagine
just so hard to stop.
all 3 of those ults together too? Such giant AoE ults controlling the team fight. It's going to be so hard for Obey to get in. I'm guessing that's why it's taking so long for them to pick this god.
This might be interesting though, because of all those AoE ults like you mentioned. A Ho Yi for Elevate to top off their triple Guardian double 100 composition would be probably the most ideal pick for them.
Yeah, he played Hu Yi a lot at Super Neutrals, so I feel like they're definitely going to look at that pick as an option, but they might have something else prepared for us that we might not expect. So I'm kind of excited to see what Elevate does, but I think Hu Yi is a really good prediction.
Man,
No,
are they
tons.
going to go all the way to the timer counting down?
It might very well be, so they don't want to mess anything up. Maybe they're thinking about going a Ho Yi for themselves and taking that away from Elevate, but instead, Sobek locked in.
Going to be solo Beck?
Very possible.
Possible.
I think Osiris is probably going to go jungle here for CaptainTwig. He really likes that idea. EmilZy has been known to play Sobek every now and then as well, but it's an Amaterasu. And yeah, EmilZy likes Amaterasu support.
All right, I'm calling it EmilZy on Ama,
Yeah.
Sobek solo, Osiris jungle.
I totally agree with you there.
And I feel like they use the Osiris for the mind games, and here we go.
You
Look
guys
at
were
this.
talking about it as Shabalanke. His ult is so good during team fights, and the other, but they're moving it over to Hu.
Yeah. Hu Yi was basically the pick that they could go with. It's a very safe pick, does a ton of AoE damage with the Guardians. He's kind of like, AMC and Hu Yi are really interesting because they're kind of like mages because they have so much AoE damage. AMC's Honey plus his 2 is just very strong damage to the team. Same with Hu Yi's all and his Ricochet.
Does just a lot of damage with that Mark of the Golden Crow. With all the protection in the front line from Elevate, these late game hyper carries of a Musikov and Ho Yi should be free.
Yeah, I really like these picks out of Obey and Elevate. We get to see the Geb jungle, we get to see the Ama support. We also get to see Discordia mid on Prime, and Prime is a traditional mage player, so I'm really excited to see what he can do with it.
So you're liking both of the comps, but not both teams can win. Anatoly, who do you favor in this matchup?
Honestly, I'm going to give it to Elevate here in this game. I think that they come prepared. They got everything that they really wanted to here.
This one's so hard for me to predict. Like, I don't even know who's going to win this set. This is probably the hardest set to take a team on. I think I'm going to go with Obey with their experience, with their picks, and it's hard to call. I really like both drafts, though, a lot.
Well, it looks like you guys are split on the decision, but we're about to find out who's going to be winning game number 1, Obey Alliance versus Elevate. Everyone make some noise, and let's go to the casters.
Ooler no fooler. That's what we're seeing right here. Tom Ballinger joined here by Ryan Bailey. This is the match to watch today.
Without a doubt. I mean, LG Energy was great to watch earlier, but Energy just kind of showed up and reminded everyone that they're still the defending 2-time champions for a reason.
Yeah.
Obey and Elevate, man, Elevate, this is such an interesting matchup for me because Elevate played up against Obey at Super Regionals. That set was so good, but Obey seemed to figure it out towards the end. No surprise that Obey's first 2 bans are the exact same first 2 bans that they had against Elevate whenever they clinched that series. And again, they give DeathPanter his best god in Hu Yi. The big adjustment, Elevate gets all of the Guardian jungles banned out except RTO and apparently Gep.
Yeah, you know what, Geb Jungle, all right. I mean, we'll see how it works. And when it comes down to it, this entire team, their play style is tanky. 2 things I want to say. I'm not on the boat that Obey figured out Elevate last time around. I think Elevate actually beat themselves. But even if I did agree with you, let's pretend that I do. Let's say Obey Alliance did figure out what Elevate had going on Super Regionals. That's a month and a half to adjust and change. Elevate still sticking to their game while trying to innovate and deal with what Obey's bringing.
Exactly, and that's what I love. I just wonder if this is the comp that Obey really wanted up against the triple Guardian that we really expected from Elevate. Osiris Jungle seems to be the one pick that I'm not sure how well it's going to do, though I really do like this Discordia. You're not going to be under pressure in the early game. It's not like whenever LG picks it and they have to worry about a Raijin, you don't really have to worry about it as much.
Bruise Brothers getting to work early. EmilZy relatively low, as is Ataraxia. Jermain trailing behind Dardez with a couple of minions as well. Dardez gets hit by the axe, but Ataraxia beats the root. A lot of action here on the dual lane, which we normally don't see.
Have to. That Sylvanas root, remember, it strips away protections. That basically means that Jermain's doing true damage at that stage. And EmilZy here, even with the extra movement speed and power of the Amaterasu, losing the lane pressure. AMC, so much talk about Uller. I think a lot of people forgot about the B.
I really will never get tired of watching Jermain and Dardez play together. They've been doing this for a long time. Elevate is sort of their brainchild, the adaptation of them saying, we've got a bomb dual lane. We just need 3 other dudes.
And they got 3 other dudes who play really, really well. The addition of DeathPanter for me was really the turning point for Elevate. Taking this composition works in large part because of how good DeathPanter plays these hunters in mid.
And you know what? I wasn't sold initially. I liked that old mid lane. I liked what you had going, Nulissa. And then DeathPanter came in and I said, yeah, right. And now he's the one that has the last laugh. He's looked fantastic.
He really has. Now, it remains to be seen if he's been able to add some mages into that God pool to try and give Elevate some more flexibility in their drafts. But honestly, when teams are going to just give you your best pick, why do you have to show anything else?
Exactly. You know, talking about a small God pool, but it doesn't matter. You know, he gets to play it every game. Sure. I think we've talked a little bit about everything else, so let's touch it. The Geb jungle.
Look, it's a Guardian in the jungle, so obviously Cherryo's going to love it. But I really do think it has some benefit. You want something that can set up for the big circles with DeathPanter, and you already have that with the Sylvanas, but adding a Cataclysm on top of it, it's a beads burner jungle. That's the real idea here, I think, for Elevate. Plus, it gives the other Guardians even more survivability. It gives your 2 hunters even more survivability. When you're playing RTO jungle, your jungle clear isn't that great as is. It's better than the Geb, but it's still not phenomenal. When you're playing Cabrakan jungle, you need help to clear. Sure. It's the exact same thing with Geb jungle. It's just that Cherryo is going to scale really well into the late game as more of a Guardian than the damage dealer like, say, a Ymir or a Cabrakan will be.
And listen, once upon a time we saw Geb jungle, and everybody was very critical about it.
Yeah.
There were some conversations about the positives. He does percent-based damage with some of his abilities, and if you get hit by that knockup at point-blank range, you're actually taking a lot of damage.
Yeah.
The problem with that once upon a time competition was that the Geb jungle was in a vacuum with a relatively traditional team surrounding it. Here, Cherryo picks the Geb jungle with an entire team mentality surrounding it and supporting it. So Elevate trying something new and innovating on a weird old janky idea.
Exactly, and I think that's why we could see this Geb jungle be a little bit more successful than Get Fishers some time ago. I'm interested that Obey went for a more late game oriented comp themselves instead of trying to pressure out Elevate. I think they kind of accepted that Elevate plays so well from behind that there's not a whole lot of point of trying to put them a little bit behind. Instead, try and match them in the later stages with a late game mage like Discordia.
Nice ultimate from Xing Chen, sticking CaptainTwig underneath the tower, forcing the ultimate, and that's just 1 for 1. Do you think that Obey said, all right, we did it. No way he plays Geb jungle. Don't care. We'll go late game and just beat him at their own game.
No, I can't imagine that they are surprised by the Geb jungle. Honestly, I'm not surprised by anything that is underneath the Guardian tab for Cherryo. I truly think they would have been more surprised to see an assassin in that spot than even the Geb.
PrettyPriMe gets nabbed by Dardez. Fantastic stuff. EmilZy immediately goes to DeathPanter. Love that target prioritization.
The silence to make sure that the suns weren't going to come down, to cover the area that PrettyPriMe could escape to in that little invisibility cloud. No surprise, EmilZy's so comfortable on this Amaterasu. Even though we haven't seen him play it recently, he played it so well during the early parts of Season 4.
Yeah, the Amaterasu brings nothing early game, but a whole lot late game. Watch the back end. Here comes Cherryo looking for the knockup. Misses it.
Nope.
EmilZy just gets knocked up. And punked a little bit. That's also scary. You get hit by that rollout, you're going flying.
You really are. That's the ideal Geb gank, I guess.
Yes.
If you're not going blink, rolling out behind them and just hoping that you can boop them towards your own tower, not so bad.
It's the ultimate, like, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him.
Watch out.
I'm gonna get him. Guys, I missed.
It's all right. It happens. And you don't have a lot of kill potential there anyways with how mobile that Amaterasu is. And there again, no surprise to see Dardez and Jermain together in this long lane. They play together more than any hunter and support really do in this current meta. So much of what we see in the current meta is a hunter in mid in order to get early pressure and give yourself some flexibility on rotations to invades, deep defending invades, with securing your own buffs. Mid pressure gives you the most range over the map, but Elevate doesn't seem to really care about that. They leave DeathPanter alone for the most part. Sometimes they put Cherryo with him, sometimes they don't. And then they just allow Jermain and Dardez to push down that duo lane consistently and get pressure on the left side. Invade purple, invade red. We've seen them take towers by now already.
And it's also, you know, I talk a lot about how the meta is one thing and you got to follow it to a certain extent, but more important is to understand your team's dynamic and what your team is good at. Dardez and Jermain are one of the best lanes in the world. I don't care what meta it is, I want to see them fight.
Exactly, and Ataraxia needs to be a little bit careful because right now is a time where Elevate can go very aggressively onto him. He did not go for boots right away, instead deciding for the Devo gloves.
CaptainTwig taking a lot of damage from that jab jungle.
Hey, percent-based damage, he got real low.
Yeah.
Didn't beats though. CaptainTwig already twice now get on the receiving end of ultimates without using purification beats. Good patience out of Obey's jungler. To be expected, he's played at lane a little bit. We talk about it a lot. He's been at every land he could possibly go to. The only European player to get at every single world championship thus far.
One more time. No number's going to ult CaptainTwig underneath the tower. Doesn't have the ultimate available this time, but does have Xaliea available.
Two meditations.
Saves that one.
Two meditations for Obey. One on Xaliea for Sobek, one on EmilZy on the Amaterasu. Really starting to value these meditations more than these shells that we saw a lot of towards the latter end of Season 4. Particularly here, I think it's very, very smart because one of the things that meditation struggles with is anti-heal items. Brawler's Beatstick, Divine Ruin, Pestilence, things of that nature. I don't think Jermain or DeathPanter is going to go Brawler's Beatstick. That doesn't really fit into what hunters need, which is attack speed and penetration. Has the pen, no attack speed. And I can't imagine no numbers Cherryo or Dardez is going to be going for Divine Ruin, so the only anti-heal you're really worried about is a Pestilence, and that's not enough to really make you consider otherwise.
Not really, and you know, one of the things that I like as well is Dardez gets flanked by CaptainTwig. Ultimate out of EmilZy. Looks like the teams are split. Suns come down. DeathPanter and Dardez on the left-hand side. Cherryo by himself. Discordia does find DeathPanter and EmilZy there, but here comes the solo lanes. CaptainTwig jumps over the wall. PrettyPriMe gets healed up. Nice play with that meditation. EmilZy eyes everywhere.
Xaliea doing so much damage. No one died somehow. I think Cherryo just thought he had CaptainTwig dead to rights and then canceled the rollout a little bit early. DeathPanter clearly thought that Cherryo had that kill because he had an opportunity to jump on top of Twig and confirm that first blood, but instead jumped out back to safety. Bit of miscommunication on the side of Elevate, drops the first blood.
Yeah, you know, I mean, sometimes you just stop. Oh man, you got to continue until you see that kill come up on screen. Really rough stuff for Elevate, dropping that first blood. But the last note I want to bring up about that meditation, Elevate playing this tanky 3 Guardian, just this 3 tank, 2 damage dealing composition. What they wind up winning, how they wind up winning is outlasting the opposition. Meditation is not only going to heal you, but recharge your mana as well. So when Elevate look for these extended engagements, Obey have an answer.
Very true, a very good point. These meditations so much better at the extended team fights. Shell, much better at countering burst.
Yeah.
Meditation, better in the longer team fights, especially with characters like Amaterasu who do use a good amount of mana.
And that, yeah, Amaterasu is a support style support, listen to me. But what I mean, the auras come through and help, she's like that. Meditation feels like it's an addition to her kit, and I really like the synergy that with what EmilZy is going to be doing.
I wonder what Dardez is going to pick up here with this helmet that he's working towards. Could be the Jade Emperor's crown that we've seen a lot of, though that got a nerf fairly recently that makes it a little bit less effective, though you do want some physical power, some physical protection, physical power reduction is what I was going to say, against things like Osiris jungle and Amaterasu support that aren't going to be building a lot of outright damage, just kind of relying on their inherent base damage throughout their abilities, but Lotus Crown also fits beautifully for this, basically the same reason. You're giving everyone around you extra physical protections for whenever Twig or EmilZy jumps on top of you. Plus, you got to factor in the fact that Wisps already have inherent physical protection.
And again, it's going along with the idea of these extended engagements. Even look at the health chalices that everybody is essentially picking up. 3 on the side of Obey, and we see the Jungle Geb pick it up here as well. These teams are looking to like have 60-second team fights.
Ooh, Cherryo off the mark with that Cataclysm. A well-timed jump by PrettyPriMe. That third ability for Discordia doesn't seem like it's gonna get you very far, and in reality it doesn't, but immunity frames, those are very, very key. Pro players always find a way to abuse the fact that they don't take any damage for a small amount of time.
Slow game here, as you would expect with these two squads. Obey Lions trying to topple what Elevate has made their play style and their signature. Nice ultimate coming out from Xaliea as he's looking for the invade. Cherryo taking some damage, down to half HP, and there's help from the friends. Xingchen tosses Xaliea underneath the tier 2 tower, and both players will be safe.
Good damage there onto No Numbers, but he does have that Stone of Gaia, so the Tail Whip actually ends up healing No Numbers more than anything else. The Stone of Gaia is such a good item right now. It's still got a little bit of a price increase, still absolutely worth the 2,100 gold for that 400 health, some good HP 5, some MP 5, and of course the passive that you don't even need all of the time. I think even without it, that would still be a viable item for these frontliners who just need cheap, effective health. But especially in the early game against a Guardian like Sobek, you don't need actual protection. You just need extra HP to work with, and Stone of Gaia is going to do that better than anything.
And you know, it's a Xingchen item that it just feels like it, right? He's all about HP 5, give me 4% of my HP, I'm down. I love it. Interesting choice as he picks up the shell for a secondary relic to teleport. Actually, #1. Few and far between do we see this chosen.
It's basically only No Numbers that seems to really enjoy this relic still. And when upgraded, I do think that it can fit very well. A little surprised that we don't see Elevate go with another Blink, though I'm guessing that they're just relying on Cherryo's Blink, and Dardez will probably pick one up as well. And they need it. It's tough to have 3 Blinks on the same team because that means you're sacrificing so much in the team fight relic department, where you need those shells. You need, especially to combat the kind of burst that PrettyPriMe is going to be able to put out with that Discordia.
Does AMC need an Aegis, or can he buy a shell?
He needs an Aegis up against the Discordia. Because Discordia's ult is backloaded, where you take 1/3 of the damage up front, and upon the detonation, you take 2/3 of the damage. That's just too much to really give up the ability to completely immune. Shell would be nice to get on someone else, but Jermain and DeathPanter are the damage for this team. I think on other compositions, you might be able to get away with something like that.
Yeah.
But when you've got 2 Hunters, and that's your damage, you need them to be able to Aegis out whatever burst the opposition has.
Absolutely. 13 minutes here, 0 kills. And just a fair bit of action between Elevate and Obey Alliance. And, you know, as I said, this is kind of as we would have predicted because of the play styles of the two teams, but because also how evenly matched these guys are. I mean, with that said, I see the Uller picked, and I want action.
You always want action. I always want action. The fans always want action.
My point is, if I'm picking Uller, I want the action. Is it Elevate doing a fantastic job making sure he's not able to?
I don't think so, because AMC also wants action in the early game. And in a lot of situations, I think AMC outboxes Uller because of the disarm. And even though Uller can switch stances to remove that disarm, being in both stance means that the AMC knows you don't have a way to jump away from Stinger. There are a lot of opportunities for AMC to make plays in that 1v1, just like he has against every Hunter. That's kind of why he's been top pick, top ban so far here at HRX. I have no problem with Ataraxia playing this lane a little bit slower. The only other time we've seen Uller so far was on the console semifinals, where Keegsmate plays it slow in the early game and then makes big plays in the mid game to try and push his team up. And that's why this Aussie also makes some sense to me, because you know that there's going to be a lot of Guardians right in front of you. Extra attack speed, extra pen, and extra some lifesteal. And it's just cheap. It gets Nate a little bit closer towards those later items.
That's the key for me, is that it's inexpensive, and Uller is a character that really flexes in that mid game. Without a giant devastating ultimate like Cherryo's might be, front side finds the Cataclysm, separating the mid lane mage from the rest of the squad. EmilZy doing the same on the front end. Cherryo gonna take some damage. EmilZy pulled underneath the tower. Cherryo, trouble! Ataraxia with the hail of arrows! That's gonna be first blood. Obey on the board.
Dardez gonna fall as well. Xaliea Xaliea gets the second kill. Obey underneath the tower. Xaliea in a lot of trouble.
He's going to be struck by the tower. That's going to go to no numbers, and PrettyPriMe relatively
Watch
low.
Jermain.
Comes over on the back end. There's the bees. There's the kill. Jermain! 3-2 as Elevate answers back.
Almost gonna have that stinger up pretty soon. He picked it up after shooting that Uller.
Yep,
Yeah, Twig gonna fall. A double kill for Jermain, and it puts them right at the Gold Fury.
3 down on both sides. No numbers in Jermain remain. EmilZy on the other hand gets stuck, and no numbers is going to take him down. Ataraxia, the only one here to defend the Gold Fury, but frankly, it might be enough.
Jermain has no mana left, so it's gonna be tough for him to bring that down very quickly. I think Elevate realizes that. Trying to bait a little bit out of Ataraxia, but look at where Cherryo is. Everyone's coming.
He can kill if he finds a combo. And Jermain makes sure not knowing Elevate, that was completely calculated. They dangled him out there as bait.
Ataraxia just healing up off this purple buff. Gold Fury getting pretty low. He might try and sneak over the wall with a hail of arrows.
One shot, two shot, that's the steal! Obey Alliance snatch it away from Elevate, and the crowd is loving it.
Xaliea here, PrettyPriMe on the way. What an individual play by Ataraxia. He's been on this world stage so many times, and he really wants to make this the first time he can win the finals. He's got to beat Elevate in order to get there in the first place. It's looking like it might be a close one.
Listen, man, I'm not taking anything away from Ataraxia. Fantastic play. We'll take a secondary look at it. Comes around the corner and just hits his buttons. Nothing there is really out of the ordinary. Again, not taking away from Nate, but Elevate have to do a better job of making sure he's not there.
Maybe Dardez can walk up, but the Hail of Arrows range is so long that he's going to be able to put it up and over the top of him anyways. Jermain using Stinger to secure Gold Fury is probably the only thing that they could have done differently. Sure. And that would have been the correct play, yes. But Jermain solo on mana, maybe he got that last extra tick right as it went down. It's tough to say for sure, but that's just one of those situations where Ataraxia makes a great individual play to put Obey in the lead.
Problem is that 15 to 20 minute Gold Fury when you're neck and neck is so important. Obey Alliance taking that away from Elevate puts them about 2,000 gold up, give or take. And that's really the beginning of finding that lead. So Obey Alliance, they really got to thank that Ataraxia play. Fantastic stuff coming out from the well.
And that's so important to get a play like that that can energize your whole team. Not only do you get the Gold Fury, but you just, defied the odds and made a big play, and it gives your team a boost, and it kind of brings down the other team as well. Elevate's probably rolling their eyes like, oh man, we really should have had that one. Yep. It's deflating for the enemy team, it's inflating for you, and on land, that's really important.
Yeah, these squads really play with their heart on their sleeves as well, knowing them and seeing them play time and time again here in person. And even on the online split, we can see how these guys react after plays like that. Obey Alliance, they're certainly gassed up. They're feeling it.
I really like the itemization coming out of Obey Alliance. Runic Shield for CaptainTwig. That brings down the magical power of all these Guardians he's going to be seeing. And especially whenever these Guardians don't have a lot of power to begin with, that basically brings their power down to 0, which means they're not getting any additional power off of scaling. That's a good item choice. And the Divine Ruin, an item that we probably don't see enough of on mid-mages. Even like this, it just gives you pen, and it gives you a little bit of anti-heal to at least have some sort of combatants into that Sylvanas healing and the meditation that he picked up. Only one blink on 3 Guardians that usually pick it up. It's on Cherryo in the jungle.
Yeah, we see Dardez actually go for the sprint, likely thinking of his Hunter in the AMC. Trying to run away from a AMC with the sprint, especially rank 2. Not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. And so again, Dardez thinking about his lane partner. Those guys, they are iconic at this point.
And check out the relics from Obey. We just talked about Dardez. You've got an upgraded shell giving you some block stacks up against these 2 hunters from EmilZy. Good choice by him. And then that upgraded Frenzy for CaptainTwig, which gives some extra attack speed and some extra penetration whenever he pops that. That goes to everyone who's in range. So these are items specifically catered to countering what Elevate wants to do. Wouldn't be tanky. Frenzy deals with that. And then that shell deals with those 2 ADCs, at least for 2 autos.
Exactly. So earlier today, I mentioned, Elevate had a long time to sort of adjust to Obey Alliance. Whether or not they figured them out or not, they can definitely change their game plan. That said, Obey Alliance can also have the exact same time we're seeing both of these teams adjust to the last time that they played out. Elevate adding some more Guardians to their arsenal, while Obey Alliance looking to find other ways to really find the chinks in the armor.
And not a lot of power on any of these Guardians. I was talking about that when it comes to the Runic Shield, but Cherryo, no Void Stone for him yet. Nothing to give him a little bit of boost. He's really relying on the percent damage from Cataclysm. Elevate doesn't even want to fight still. I mean, it's 20 minutes in. Yeah. They don't want to fight for another 10 minutes probably. They want to hit level 20 on their Hunters. They want to get those guys to full build. Cherryo probably wants to be hitting level 20 as well, because level 20 Cataclysm is really tough to deal with, doing that much percentage of HP. So Elevate is still trying to play this slower than even Obey is right now.
20.5 on the clock here, 7 kills in total, Elevate owning 4 of them. And although they lead in the kill lead, Obey Alliance leading in the gold column. 3K Elevate's senior is Obey Alliance. With all that said though, I think that Elevate are absolutely still in this. I think that gold leads are relative, Ryan, and I think that with the type of strategy and composition that Elevate have, this 3,000 gold lead, you can probably compare it to like more 1,500 as to a traditional composition.
Completely agree, if not less than that,
yeah.
Because these Guardians are going to be able to be effective regardless of itemization at this point in the game. Now, soon enough, they will need some items, especially once PrettyPrime's able to back and finish off Obsidian Shard. Ataraxia is done with his Executioner after he finished that Aussie, working towards a chin size. After that point, it will be relevant, the gold lead. Look, it still is. It's just not as important as it is against a lot of other compositions. Exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, when we're talking about stats and goal, I mean, MOBAs, there's so many variables that really come into it. And Elevate are, you know, they're taking your formula that you know and they're turning it on its head. So that's what's made them so successful, not just this year, but over time. You know, we talk a lot about how, you know, Alpha Jackal and that squad has been together forever, the rival guys. Elevate have grown this over time. Watch out for this team fight though. No number is going to be rooted. Right side, Xaliea trying to zone out to upflipping Cherryo on the back end. Half HP on the Guardian, half HP on no numbers as well. Going to grab a couple of people up with the ultimate. Will he throw him? He does, but he gets killed right after.
There's a big kill for Obey. Cherryo on the run, but a nice route there by PrettyPrime. Ataraxia gets Cherryo, and Xaliea sends up another meal.
Wonderful performance by Xaliea. You want to talk about iconic pairings. Xalia's been playing the Sobek solo since I can remember, and he's showing why they select it, why it's so powerful. And man, Xaliea, he seems like he always has that charge spray available.
Ready to go at every given opportunity. Obey Alliance get their second Gold Fury of the game. The first that they started themselves. And that's a great team fight to take by Obey. Like I was talking about, those are power items done for Ataraxia, and PrettyPrime's doing tons of damage. He hits no numbers for almost half of his health with that golden apple to the Discordia ultimate, and that just forced everything back from Elevate. The early frenzy pop by CaptainTwig gives EmilZy some extra damage to force Cherryo out. As Aurora was saying on the desk, Elevate likes to rotate their tanks in and out of the fights. One goes in, he gets low, take him out, put another one in. Well, when Xaliea is the one dictating which tank is in and which tank is out, it's much harder to communicate that. And Obey's target focus was completely switched time and time again. As soon as Xaliea finds a target, he plucks in Cherryo, EmilZy chases him out. Then that opens the door for no numbers to be the target. Once he's killed, Xaliea delivers another. It's just beautiful target selection and focus from Obey.
Exactly. I mean, we're so obsessed with the idea that Elevate, it's tanky, but there's multiple layers. This is a professional team, right? They don't just lock in Guardians and say ready, set, go. And Elevate with this tanky composition, one thing that's very important for them is playing team fights on their own terms. They absolutely need to. And when Xaliea is playing on his own terms, well, Elevate can't do much.
Another important thing against these Guardian compositions is momentum and pacing of the team fights. This is like right now when PrettyPrime is just backed and picked up Obsidian Shard, and Cherryo, the only thing he got was an Iron Mail 1 off of his last back. Dardez only starts to work towards what is probably going to be a Void Stone. These are power opportunities for Obey where they get a big burst first. Tank compositions can very easily waterfall other teams, just start to beat them team fight after team fight after team fight if they happen back to back to back. But they can also get waterfalled on in the same sort of sense where Obey is just getting damage and damage and damage, and Elevate just can't keep up in pace on those items.
One of the nice things is the idea of items that are perhaps worth more than they seem. Follow me here. Oni Hunter's Garb gives you the raw stats, but also will give you flat mitigation on top of it when you jump in the middle of everybody. That Lotus Crown is going to give you additional protections, so you're getting more than what you're paying for, comparatively speaking to the offensive stats. So in this mid game, Elevate can sort of hang. But right now with this 6,000, 7,000 gold lead that Obey Alliance are getting, it's sort of getting out of control.
Ooh, Ataraxia just can't find the axe against Jermain. That's that extra movement speed from the Hives that gets him out of danger there.
Elevate trying to play defense of this tier 1 tower. Ataraxia is so accurate with that hail of arrows, doesn't even need said axe. Here come the minions and likely Obey behind them. Ataraxia focusing the target. Preemptively beads the stun coming out from Cherryo and targeting that tower. However, the guys on Obey are being grouped up by Elevate. Xaliea zoning. Tier 1 tower gonna crumble.
Man, PrettyPriMe doing so much damage with that ult, and it's spread a little bit as well. Tier 1 tower falls, and look at the split up here by Obey.
I love the double meditation. It brings the Obey Alliance were brought down to half HP by that initiation. 2 meds. This is a fully healed team.
Very, very potent healing coming out of Obey, and one thing that's shutting down the healing from Elevate is this Divine Ruin on Discordia. I love this pairing because you want Divine Ruin on gods that can easily apply it from a distance without putting themselves out of position. Unruly Magic, Discordia's first ability, those little balls start bouncing all over the team fight, all underneath the tower. There's no way to avoid them easily. All of a sudden, the entire team is anti-healed. DeathPanter got poked low, and the healing that he got from Dardez wasn't as relevant because he just got poked by a little stray ball off Unruly Magic.
Yeah, exactly, and it's very scary stuff when you're able to sort of distribute those passives among the team whenever you really want. Elevate down but not out. Where do they find their entrance, however?
Well, now is a good time that they just got a power spike. I don't think that power spikes for items get enough talk, and that's me saying that I know I talk about that obsessively. But it truly is that important in these pro-level matches. Those items that Elevate has just started, now done. Midgardian Mail for Cherryo, Voidstone for Dardez, and that gives them so much more resilience, specifically Cherryo with that Midgardian Mail up against Ataraxia. It's going to be difficult for that Ullr to really stick to this Gev jungle. And that Voidstone for Dardez, shutting down some damage from PrettyPriMe and Xaliea, both of whom are at the top of Obey's overall team damage. So this is a good opportunity for Elevate to say, okay, we got some items that are really gonna help us, that can really solve a lot of issues that we're having right now, and try and play this next team fight a little bit more patiently. Problem is, as it always happens, whenever a team that's behind gets these power items and they say, okay, you know, we're in a good spot now, then you press tab and you look and, oh, well, Xaliea finished Mantle of Discord. How in the world are we gonna kill him? Oh, Brawler's Beatstick done for CaptainTwig. Now my healing is even worse on Sylvanas and coming out of this meditation. So Elevate needs to try and get a good initiation from Cherryo and really take care of PrettyPriMe or Ataraxia early, preferably PrettyPriMe, because his damage has been really, really relevant so far.
Spotlight and conversation are always on the tanky characters of Elevate, but right now, y'all should be looking at Jermain. He's almost finished. Scratch that. He's completely finished with his build, slinging out those chin side hits with all of the attack speed in the world, plus the double lifesteal on that AMC. Right, he's looking to make a move now, and this is where Elevate, yeah, the tank's maybe a little bit behind, but Jermain, he's gonna start murdering people.
Yeah, I was just saying that there was a lot of player damage on Xaliea and PrettyPriMe. Well, who are they looking up at? Jermain.
5K.
Way up there in the player damage. To be expected from AMC, but also to be expected from Jermain.
From Jermain.
Because he's an excellent hunter, one of the best in the world. Look at Ataraxia's build. He went for a Bloodforge triple lifesteal for Obey's hunter as he secures the Portal Demon for Obey Alliance. No Titan's Bane against triple tank. I wonder if he's going to be selling that Aussie for a Titan's Bane in those Warrior Tabi for a Ninja Tabi to make up for the loss of attack speed.
Might be. I like the Bloodforge idea normally against more burst compositions, but here looking for just 75 power is a fair amount for what it's worth, so Ataraxia will still be swinging with those abilities. Nice pluck coming out from Xaliea one more time, but this time Cherryo comes along for the ride, looking for the rollout. stuck by himself, however, and 4 players collapse, and that gem just shut down.
PrettyPriMe just zoned all of Elevate away from where that fight was happening. He throws the ultimate, that forces everyone back because they don't want to get that golden apple spread to them, and then he's throwing the unruly magic, the strikes. I mean, he just zoned away everybody with pure damage. That had allowed Obey Alliance to do whatever they wanted up against the rest.
Well, Ataraxia using that lifesteal and soloing the Fire Giant. No numbers to target. Again, 1 player in an Elevate jersey surrounded by Obey. And it's 3-0-3 for Ataraxia.
And again, who's zoning? PrettyPriMe with damage. No one can really get on top of him. And this triple lifesteal allows Ataraxia to tank up this Fire Giant without much worry, though I don't think he even needs it because no one from Elevate is even close to coming to contest.
Yeah, Jermain and Dardez are getting the red buff. They've completely relinquished the Fire Giant, instead going to look for EmilZy and possibly the Gold Fury after the fact. Big Boy goes down. Both EmilZy and the Fire Giant. And Jermain gets credits. So Obey Alliance with the Fire Giant in their hand are going to look for this team fight here. Xaliea coming around the back end, gets rooted. Nice play coming out from Dardez.
3 members here from Elevate. Now with Cherryo joining, that's a 4th. So no numbers still on respawn. It's a 4-on-4. Despite being down 9K and the enemy team having the Fire Giant,
this is the play.
Like Elevate's going for gold anyways.
This is the play to make Elevate they need to really make these plays. I don't even call that a desperation play. I think that's just intelligent, understanding all of the situations.
I think a lot of people here in the crowd are probably throwing their hands up asking why Obey Alliance isn't going in to defend that Gold Fury. And there's a couple of reasons. Number 1, it's truly not that impactful. Like you mentioned, Jermain's already full build. Yes, it helps DeathPanter and the rest of the tanks, but it's not worth losing multiple members with Fire Giant over. Number 2, all of Ullr's relics were on cooldown, and of course doesn't have a true ultimate that can give him some sort of CC immunity, so he is very vulnerable, especially with Cherryo coming back with his ultimate. And that's the third thing, is that Cherryo, DeathPanter, and Jermain all had their ults up, and Obey Alliance did not. So that's an opportunity for Elevate to try and take an even fight despite being down. Obey, most of the time when you've got Fire Giant and you've been winning every team fight, you're like, really? They're gonna try and do this objective right in front of me? You get them off of it, but intelligent hold there off an objective that doesn't really impact the finale very much.
Problem here for Obey Alliance is that Elevate, they're reaching that moment that you were talking about. DeathPanter about to hit level 20, as is Cherryo on that Geb. That Cataclysm is going to be very scary here once he's able to max it out. An 8,000 gold lead, that's a lot, but it's certainly not devastating.
I mean, Elevate won a game down far more than 8,000 gold against this exact same Obey roster at Super Regionals.
Tier 2 tower being aggressed on here. CaptainTwig trying to do stuff. Cherryo blinks on in, gets the ultimate, but doesn't get much for it. Instead, he's ulted by the mid lane mates. Cherryo on the back line. Tier 2 tower falls down. Twiggy wants to cause some damage, and there's no numbers that finds the root. EmilZy getting eaten by DeathPanter and the Goomba stop. That's a good kill for the mid lane. Oh, yeah.
There's the Geb shield and the Aegis forced out. Good turnaround there by Elevate. You called it, Tom, right away.
Oh, DeathPanter. I don't care that PrettyPriMe doesn't die. It just looks cool.
It was cool. It was very cool. DeathPanter and the rest of Elevate, you're right, they're reaching that point where it gets really difficult to bring them down, and that's where EmilZy's damage aura is really going to come into play. That's where that frenzy is going to be very helpful from CaptainTwig, but I really feel like some extra penetration is needed by Ataraxia. He's got a good amount between the Aussie and the Executioner, but a Titan's Bane makes it that much easier to chew through Cherryo.
Because you're looking at DeathPanter and Jermain murdering EmilZy. And that needs to be answered by Ataraxia, and it's just not happening. So right there, you get your tier 2, you lose your support. That's still a win for Obey, but it's a scary foreshadowing of what could happen later on in these team fights.
That Mantle of Discord that EmilZy's working on is going to be absolutely critical to giving him some extra protection and survivability. Just getting that AoE stun off when he's about to die. EmilZy told me that before this tournament that he probably needs to die more than he did during the regular season.
Dardez misses the pole, gets plucked instead, finds an ultimate, and really just playing defense. Here comes EmilZy from around the back end. Xaliea in a lot of trouble, and he's going to be out of the conversation. Portal Demon, however, going to be attacked. PrettyPriMe takes down Cherryo. Now here's some secondary kill. No numbers, answers back. Taking down the enemy jungler, and it's 4-on-4.
Obey was able to, they were not able, excuse me, to grab that Portal Demon. It was the Suns from DeathPanter that just got the correct tick there. So Elevate come out 1 for 1, jungler for jungler, but they have the Portal Demon, and here comes No Number straight through it.
No fear. No fear. Level 20 Xing Chen just walking right on through. This I love. Ataraxia just piling those shots, waiting for someone to show up. I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think so either.
I don't think Jermain walks through that.
Ataraxia, the only one still forward, but he's got numbers in tow, just trying to bait Elevate down further into the Obey jungle, but the veterans on Elevate a little bit too savvy to fall for that.
35-minute slugfest. You know, a lot of our games have been relatively short.
I suppose they have.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking, sure, placement rounds, differently match skill, let's say. But even today, relatively short, 35 minutes, kind of long, but as to be expected.
Well, that first rival versus Nocturnes, first set of the day, game 2, that was a pretty long game.
Yeah, sure. All right, yeah, that was fun. That was actually really fun, watching those guys come out. Seeing the international teams time and time again sort of grow is exciting. Seeing the NA and EU teams grow, and that's what we're seeing right here. I mean, totally mentioned, Obey Lions came from that hungry for more squad, still here, just continuously getting better, even with the addition of Xaliea early on in the year.
This is the type of fight that Elevate would rather be taking. Now they've gotten their hunters to level 20, key items done, only an Odysseus bow likely to finish off DeathPanter's build. No sort of area to escape the AoE that they have between the Cataclysm, the Wrath of Terra, the Suns. Those are important cooldowns you want to hit multiple people with.
Cherryo trying to isolate Xaliea, but the rest of the squad of Obey walks around the corner. Sprint is popped, and EmilZy looking for an ultimate. CaptainTwig gets ulted as well, and DeathPanter loses his ult and half of his HP bar. Ultimate on the Cherryo coming out from PrettyPriMe, and EmilZy is the one that takes down No Numbers. Cherryo on the run, he's gonna get blood. Cherryo controlled, gets shields himself, but the damage still there. Ataraxia puts number 11 up.
And that fight by EmilZy was so insane. He tries to focus out Dardez, separates him from the entirety of Elevate, and then with that last shot of the Dazzling Offensive, takes half of DeathPanter's HP basically by himself with that plus the Reflective Mirror. Great initiation there by EmilZy on this warrior support. And again, it's Xaliea just in the right spot at the right time. PrettyPriMe is doing so much damage to these frontliners. Discordia ult just shredding through them. He, by himself, PrettyPriMe, took half of a late game Gev's HP with just one ability.
PrettyPriMe is, he's a very strong middle laner. Period, end of story. But I think the second chapter of that story is that he's a strong mid laner on the characters that not everybody excels at first. Discordia has not had a great showing this tournament, and PrettyPriMe making her look fantastic. Xaliea surprise! Big damage coming out again, assisted by the mid lane Discordia.
Assisted, basically did it all. Xaliea just ripped away the kill off the beautiful strike. Now EmilZy in some trouble. No Number's gonna pick up a couple and throw him straight to the Titan room.
This is a great counter initiation coming out from Elevate. Dardez gonna take down the Croc. Jermain answers back, taking down EmilZy. Long sit down timers, 60+ seconds for both of them.
Good damage coming out of Discordia again. Man, PrettyPriMe just tearing through Elevate so far with this mid lane mage. And going back to what you were about to say, that's exactly, I completely agree with you. Look, PrettyPriMe, I'm convinced, could make anything in the mid lane look broken. To me, to anyone else. I mean, he looks insane on so many different gods, but it's the gods that are late game oriented that he usually plays the best. It's the Vulcan that has a horrible early game.
Which once upon a time, 0 people played except for him.
Exactly, and now he's just widely considered, it's just a fact at this point, the best Vulcan in the world, and it's truly not even close. Just him picking up Discordia and having a performance like this doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is for me, is about PrettyPriMe, is that he's able to take these characters that either are good theoretically and never come out in practice, or these characters that people don't look a second time at, and then all of a sudden, Prime is out here slaying it. 37,000 player damage. Jermain's crushing it as well at 39, but everybody else on both teams trailing by an exorbitant amount of player damage. PrettyPriMe out of control here on this Discordia. If, some people might say when, Obey win this game, it's basically on the back of PrettyPriMe.
Him and Xaliea in particular had phenomenal games. They were both absolutely incredible and team fought so well. We haven't really been able to talk about this guy, CaptainTwig, very much, and honestly, I think that's totally fine by him. He's just been in the middle of these team fights, helping to zone, helping to be a nuisance, and just absorbing damage.
12 kills, 12 assists for CaptainTwig.
Surprise,
For
surprise.
a jungler, weird slash line. For CaptainTwig, he wouldn't have it any other way.
Ideal.
Ben Knight, ladies and gentlemen. Obey Alliance looking for their left lane push. Cherryo gets rooted, shields himself, finds the knock up on EmilZy. They go ahead and preserve his HP. Half, however, on the Phoenix. Obey Alliance regrouping.
EmilZy just trying to be that general nuisance. Remember, last team fight, it was that Ataraxia in the support role that really started it off. With that ultimate, you know DeathPanter is going to be a little bit more aware of where EmilZy's aiming that dazzling offense this time.
Ataraxia firing shots pretty much at anybody who's willing to walk up. And again, this is Xalia's job to go in, and Elevate has done a good job of punishing him, however, in this late game. Curious to see if Obey switches it up, and they will. CaptainTwig will be the first one in.
Ooh, there's the frenzy pop. Twig gonna get knocked up, rooted underneath that tower. He's taking a lot of damage, but here comes the ultimate from PrettyPriMe.
Cherryo just gone! PrettyPriMe follows up the ultimate with a little bit of damage, and the Magic Man is fantastic. Ataraxia keeps his eye on the prize, takes down the Phoenix. CaptainTwig relatively low, but he already did his job, and so does Ataraxia. 5 kills without a death. 5-0-6. Fooler, no fooler.
Big plays out of Ataraxia and PrettyPriMe there, just chasing down the no numbers into his own Titan room. Ataraxia kind of did all that by himself, hit the axe and finished him off with the auto attacks. Now the tier 2 tower in mid gonna fall to Obey, just trying to give them some extra gold, though really more at this point with full items being done for all of Obey's players. It's just about that map pressure.
Right side Phoenix about to respawn, mid side Phoenix being left alone, no defense from Elevate. My question to you is this game, Ataraxia is playing the Uller. Is Uller going nuts, or is he just kind of playing the Hunter?
He's just kind of playing the Hunter. I mean, that Gold Fury steal can be done by a couple different Hunters. Probably not as easily as what it can be done by Uller, but that hasn't changed with anything. I mean, just doing Uller things, not dominating the lane. I think a lot of that is credit to Jermain and the AMC pick overall. It also does draw a lot of attention from Elevate, which kind of opens the door for PrettyPriMe to be as impactful as he has been. But look, we're 42 minutes in. About 22 minutes ago, someone on Elevate said, hey, PrettyPrime's doing a lot of damage. We should hurt him more. And they still haven't been able to do it.
CaptainTwig and the rest of the squad walking through the portal. Another Fire Giant going the way of Obey Alliance. Elevate have a ton of homework to do as far as dealing with these fire minions that Obey have started to recruit. So no defense coming out from Elevate just yet. That right side Phoenix is respawned, and that's definitely the most important thing on Elevate's menu right now. So they've got to play this defensive set correct. This is basically the last team fight of the game if Elevate do not win.
In the Brawler's Beatstick pickup for DeathPanter in that last item slot, selling something for that Odysseus bow as well. I believe that was Titan's Bane that he sold away, just trying to spread that damage throughout the team fight, and more importantly, try and anti-heal away that Ama healing and those 2 meditations.
To pull through the wall, Xaliea gets snatched up, but doesn't look like it's going to be of any consequence. EmilZy trying to deal with Cherryo on the right side, and the bird goes down. Tossing 2 could be huge. The Suns come down. Ataraxia goes down. DeathPanter on the good side. It's a 5-on-4. Elevate on the good side. Xaliea deals with Jermain, and that could be trouble. Xaliea deals with Cherryo, and that will be trouble.
Big damage on a DeathPanter, forces his beads. It's Prime over the wall. Prime did all the damage to Jermain, and then Xaliea gets in there and cleans it up. That golden apple, we saw it zone away everybody before, and you wonder why. Well, it's because it just did 1,000 plus to Jermain if you're standing right on top of whoever it hits.
EmilZy and the rest of his squad stands Ataraxia. Fire Giant in tow. That's it. That's the game. Beautiful, beautiful play by PrettyPriMe to control 2 players. CaptainTwig over the top. Dardez trying to heal, but the Titan can't walk in the fountain. Obey Alliance take game 1.
What plays from PrettyPriMe? 52,000 plus damage. Just an insane performance on the newest mage, the newest god in Smite. Can't imagine that he's going to be able to get that in the later parts of picks and bans, but that's the problem whenever a player has such a good performance on a god that you don't have practice against, is now you have to worry about it as Elevate. Are we really going to give him Raijin instead? I mean, it's a tough task to figure out how you pick and ban against Obey now.
PrettyPriMe, the man can play anything. Kelly, what do you think?
Tom, we have a lot of things to think about right here. That game was intense. Could have gone either way.
Absolutely. It was pretty slow to start off, though. Like, we didn't see much action until that 16-minute Gold Fury steal by Ataraxia playing that Uller. He got bullied away a little bit, but then he just came back after doing his own purple.
Yeah, the first action we actually saw was right before that when they tower dove, and Elevate had a perfect response to it. I feel like Obey got a little bit greedy and they dove too far, but then Ataraxia stealing that Gold Fury really saved them from making, like, they set the pace of the game right there.
You were telling us earlier, actually, behind the scenes of how, like, Obey consistently dives the backlines in every year they play Worlds.
Yeah, last year against us, they overdove us at a tier 1, and Zap got a quadra kill. It's pretty, and then season 1, I think, against Cog Prime in the finals, they also overdove. So PrettyPriMe and Ataraxia's teams have a history of diving a lot.
Zap was playing Uller in that game, right?
Yeah.
Ataraxia took note.
Yep.
Aurora, another thing that you mentioned is that all their teams focus solo and that you're so excited that finally we get to see all these team engagements happening all over the map. Why is that?
Yeah, because both these teams really like Guardian picks in the solo lane. Xaliea has a really good Sobek. He also has a good Kabrakan. And then No Numbers plays a lot of Guardians as well. Jingpen, Kabrakan, and even Sobek himself. So seeing all these Guardians coming out, they can kind of focus more about and there's the Gold Fury steal right there.
That was so good. I mean, he has such great range on that 3.
Yeah, you definitely need to find one of your tanky frontliners to zone away Ataraxia. You can't allow him to do what he does, and Xaliea just set up Ataraxia here in the mid game so easily with that pluck.
And something else was interesting about Ataraxia's build is he went triple lifesteal. As you saw in that last replay there, he pulled Fire Giant and he baited one of the tanks in. He takes 0 damage from Fire Giant, and then they just pull him in, CC the tank, and kill them. It's just really, really good, smart build choices by Ataraxia.
Is he not running a risk, though, building those 3 lifesteal items?
He's not really running a risk. He's losing a little bit of damage, but there's no risk at all, like, to his build. So.
Against triple Guardian, you're not really expecting to do that much damage anyway, so the more you can sustain in these team fights, the better.
Well, you're like the main damage source against the triple Guardians. The way you beat triple Guardians is to auto-attack them down as a hunter. But as we saw as well,
PrettyPriMe.
You could have a mage like PrettyPriMe doing a lot of damage as Discordia.
Definitely did a lot of damage that game specifically there.
Wow,
Seeing
look at the difference between EmilZy and Dardez. Yeah, the damage mitigated. It really seemed like EmilZy was always in the front line with Amaterasu.
Definitely diving with this comfort pick.
We see a lot of damage mitigated by them is because Elevate has so much consistent damage out of a double hunter's composition, because AMC's always doing damage with his auto attacks,
right.
Huyi's always doing damage with auto attacks, and we also see AMC's Bs spreading to them as well, and they're mitigating most of that damage because they have a lot of physical defense, and then also Huyi all on top of that. So there's a lot of things they can be mitigating.
Well, let's move our focus over to Elevate and what they can change to take game number 2.
I think that Elevate just keep playing their game style, but they need to put more emphasis on shutting down PrettyPriMe potentially there. He got pretty comfortable there. It was very difficult to lock him down. There was a point in the game where it was Cherryo blinking into that tier 1 mid tower, actually waited about a minute before using the Cataclysm, thinking that there was going to be an early beads or maybe an early third ability coming out of PrettyPriMe. That never happened. He hesitated, and then what happens? PrettyPriMe uses the 3 to get away from the Cataclysm.
Yeah, that was really good play by PrettyPriMe. It's really easy to dodge ultimates as Discordia.
We aren't taking a look at PrettyPriMe. We are looking at Xaliea Sobek setting up so many amazing kills with that pluck he has.
Yeah, Sobek's really strong right now. His Lurking in the Waters just did so much damage in that fight, combined with PrettyPriMe's ultimate. It's just so much burst damage coming out.
But you kept saying, Aurora, that they need to finish this game right away because Elevate can easily make a comeback.
Yeah, as we saw in Super Regionals, I think they're the only team that came back from a 10,000 gold deficit in the entire tournament. And right in this game here, they were down 10,000 gold and they were able to fight back on their left Phoenix, and they almost took out Ataraxia and PrettyPriMe. And then at the end of the game on the right-hand side, we saw Ataraxia get picked up by Jingtenol, and PrettyPriMe had to basically cover for him and close the game out by himself.
There was great control all across the board from Elevate, so one small misposition from Obey Alliance would absolutely get punished, and that's what Elevate was just waiting for, that one little mistake.
I think we saw that actually over on the left side near the Phoenixes. Obey was staying just a little bit too long, and Elevate, even though behind like 10,000 gold, was able to kill them.
It was EmilZy actually that got caught out there around the 33-minute mark at that tier 2 long lane tower.
Yeah, it was EmilZy and also Ataraxia as well. They got him with a Jingtenol, and then he got him with his Sylvanas ult, but he was able to jump out, and then they were able to pick EmilZy up on the backside of it.
So it was still a pretty close game, but that definitely went into the way of Obey. Do you think Obey is going to make this game 2-0, or are we going to see a game 3?
I think we can very easily see a game 3 here. I think that there was a lot of interesting picks and bans. I think that all of Obey's draft was a problem at one point or another, so I don't necessarily know which way Elevate has to ban. Ullr, I don't think necessarily was the problem. I think it was more of the Sobek combined with the Discordia.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I don't think Ullr was like the main issue. Obviously, the Gold Fury steal out of Ataraxia was great, and the Ullr's really good at stealing objectives, but I don't think it was the main issue. I think it was the Discordia and the Sobek, like you were saying.
So are we still going to see Ullr get through, as well as AMC?
It's very possible.
Yeah, I think AMC might get banned, but I think we're definitely going to see Ullr get through.
Because Elevate, they banned away Raijin and Hell in that first game. Maybe not the Raijin necessarily to ban away. The Hell was a smart ban, though.
Yes.
EmilZy will lock that in every single time.
Hell's really good against Guardians, the cleanses, the movement speed from her healing ability, the burst healing as well out of her 1, and then she also has a protection shred and an aura from her ultimate to give protections to her team. So Hell has a lot of things going for her that's really good against Guardians.
I'm also expecting maybe an Ares pick out of Elevate specifically.
We saw an Ares ban actually come out.
Yeah, it was during the second portion from Obey Alliance, recognizing that there was still another Guardian that they could have locked in. It was Geb in the jungle here for Cherryo. He didn't have the best setups in the world, but they still made the game last long enough and had a big fight all up until the end.
Yeah, I think Geb would have been a lot better if they didn't have Discordia, because it's really hard to lock down Discordia with her movement ability, because she gets an immunity frame when she jumps, and he was dodging Geb ults left and right that game, and if he was some other mage, Geb would have had a field day with him and just ulting him over and over again.
So a Discordia ban you think is going to be coming out?
Yeah, it's very possible. I think that that would be a better ban than a Raijin, honestly, because if you're going to let Ullr and AMC go through, there's going to be a lot of clear anyway from one of those two hunters. So leaving Raijin open wouldn't be a bad idea.
It seems like Obey was mostly focusing on banning out tanks and some sustain. So I'm sure they're probably going to go to the same route because that worked out for them.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what Obey is going to pull out as well. I feel like they have some stuff up their sleeve. I wonder if they're going to try to get through this game without showing anything else. But I think we might see something cool come out of Obey.
It all depends on what Obey wants to ban away here and kind of like pick your poison from Elevate, right? Because the Cabrakan Athena was banned away by Obey Alliance in that first game, knowing how powerful that is in Cherryo's hands. He's also been known to play the Naja, the Hunbats every now and then, but not to the same success level as his Guardians.
Yeah, for sure. I would be really surprised if he strayed away from the Guardians and went to Assassin, but who knows? He might have something really cool prepared.
We definitely focus on Cherryo a lot, but I want to move our focus over to Dardez and Jermain, the Bruise Brothers, as they call them in Aurora. You mentioned something really interesting to me.
Yeah, Dimmy was telling me that how they do their comms is they talk in French for like the first 5 minutes of the game because it doesn't get them confused with the solo jungle lane who's also talking English. So that'd be really nice to know another language, so you could have one side of the map talking in a different language than the other one, so you're not getting confused and you know who's talking to who.
I'm wondering if they've ever mixed it up, though, when they are trying to communicate to their English-speaking teammates and start speaking in French. That communication could probably be important to know what's going with the dual lane, right?
Yeah, it's very possible there, especially considering how long these two players have been together since their late Myrmidon days back in about like late season 1, somewhere around there. And Jermain still all smiles after that game, just showing a lot of love to his support.
Yep, they've been together forever and they just have really good synergy.
Dardez is like, no, I hate him, get him away from me.
Yeah, the synergy between these two are fantastic, and it's actually pretty impressive, the synergy that the rest of the team has with them, especially because Cherryo was picked up after the spring split and DeathPanter after the summer split. How can these teams make it all the way into the quarterfinals of the Smite World Championships when they just started in the SPL?
It's just about their unique strategy that works for them. These are all talented players in their own rights. They couldn't really find the team that worked for them in the SPL until right here, right now. And they've developed such a strategy that a lot of opposing teams can't handle, but Obey Alliance certainly did at Super Regionals.
All right, looks like there is some talking going on right now. We are not ready to get into picks and bans just yet. I can't imagine the kind of stress that Obey and Elevate are both going through right now.
There was just so many things to consider in that last game for Obey Alliance here that Elevate need to kind of remember here was, you know, the triple lifesteal coming out of Ataraxia, obviously. The double meditation also we didn't touch on there from Obey. Kept them alive in a lot of these team fights because they also had a shell.
Yeah, like last year we saw a lot of double meditations coming out, and then we saw the change to meditation. It used to be percentage based, and it was a part of the health pool of whoever had meditation. Now it's just a flat rate, and it scales up off of levels. So seeing a double meditation come out is very strong, and I believe that med is not as bad as people think it is because of it's not a percentage anymore. I think as long as you have levels, it's good.
And it's also the mana that you get from it. Wow. CaptainTwig there feeling himself definitely a little bit.
I think the audience is as well.
We're trying to get him to stare there in the middle.
There's the famous lick right there.
Yeah, that's what he really likes to do to warm up for the game. Some people not so comfortable by that, though.
Some people love it, some people hate it.
There we go.
Can you imagine, though, like just playing with a wet mouse? Just like,
Oh, no.
oh, ew.
I don't want that.
There's Primo right there.
Primo.
Yeah.
Pretty Primo.
Pretty Primo.
I like it. And his glorious hair, of course.
Yeah, he's growing him back out. He's trying to, you know, use that headband again.
I can't tell if they can hear us or not. It almost seems like they can hear us, right?
Like,
He's giving us a bad look right now.
It's like, stop talking about me.
All right, I want to talk about this solo lane because it's actually one of the first times that we didn't really see too much solo lane action until afterwards when Solo Beck did move over into the mid to late game.
The Guardian versus Guardian is going to be a pretty slow start in the solo lane specifically, which is why we saw more action once they started rotating. It was a very slow start for both of these teams. They were feeling each other out, I think. They wanted to make sure that neither one of them would have overstepped.
Yeah, when we started seeing action, it was more around Gold Fury and more around like the mid lane where they all kind of converged from the side lanes to fight. That first fight we saw was right before the Gold Fury, and that's when Obey overdove, and that's when No Numbers had that really good Jing 10 play. And then after that, Ataraxia was able to steal the Gold Fury and really turn the game around for Obey and let them keep their lead.
It's interesting to see all these different metas kind of start off in the game because a lot of teams will try to invade speed buff or a blue buff and look for an aggressive opportunity there. But instead, Obey Alliance and Elevate, they were just very comfortable just like ping-ponging between every side of the map to start.
Yeah, the one thing we also saw in the early game was that they were really going for neutrals really hard. The first big fight we saw was at those mid-camp neutrals, and CaptainTwig barely lived, and he was able to use his ultimate to get out of there. And then, yeah, we just saw a bunch of like small skirmishes happen, people using their ultimates all over the place, and everybody living with like 1 HP.
Yeah, the first blood didn't happen until 14 minutes.
Something like that, yeah. This game just started off slow. It's so difficult to find a kill on triple Guardian composition, though, unless you can isolate the Hunters alone. But Dardez, DeathPanter specifically, and Jermain was so far in the backline that you couldn't find them. They were just hiding behind their Guardians anyway.
Which is what you would expect out of that comp.
Yeah, Jermain's positioning was awesome that game. He had some really good flanks in the early game, and he was able to position himself behind the tanks really well in the late game to get all his damage off.
Well, whoever wins from this is going to be going up against E-United tomorrow in the semifinals. I know that's going to be really hype. The audience has been really excited here and excited for a lot of things, one of which is the merch that you can purchase here. But don't worry, chat, because you guys can get a hold of that merch as well, and you can get it for 10% off using the HRX SMT10 code.
Got a cute little Fenrir Doge as well, and, you know, look at those shirts, man.
Yeah, you guys can get that at Into the AM 86 or merchandise.gang.
That's where Ajax got his famous Ama shirt from, right?
I believe so, yes.
Huh.
Those cool full shirt ones. I believe that was also on the bingo card for SWC. And I think they got it.
They got it indeed. You know, he was wearing that Luminosity shirt today, unfortunately. Bad timing.
Oh.
Well, him and Aquarius are actually really good friends. I think that's why.
Oh, wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah, I think that they used to play together in Joust all the time, and that's why whenever Aquarius was in the Challenger scene originally, he was always following him.
That's awesome to hear. Yeah, I had no idea about that.
We got Xaliea up on the screen right there. Phenomenal solo laner. He took a break during the summer split. Why was that?
He got into an interesting position considering his former team, I think it was Enix, and he didn't have the best of times there. He needed to take a little bit of a break, but he still remained true to wanting to play in the SPL. He streamed almost every single day consistently at a high level, got recognized by Obey Alliance as a true competitor once Maniac wanted to join NRG.
And just off you saying Joust reminded me that CaptainTwig is actually one of the best Joust players in the world.
Dual players.
duel.
Yeah, in the 1v1.
Yes.
Yeah, he's very good at dueling. He plays a lot of different characters.
How do you feel that translates over here into a competitive 5v5 match?
As a jungler, you're looking to outplay your opponent, no matter who you're against. Because duels and 1v1s have so many different possibilities of different gods against different gods, that allows CaptainTwig to have such a flexible god pool, and any situation that he encounters throughout a game, he'll just know how to overcome it.
It probably helps inspire some of his picks as well, like the Kuzenbo jungle and certain things like that we see come out every once in a while out of him, because he has some interesting picks, and playing in the joust or in the dual 1v1s, he can really show them off and really practice them as well in the 1v1 situation.
Are we